Alright, so Crazy Mario Bros just got exposed for grooming a minor, and today we're going to be taking a look at what happened and basically just summarize the entire Google Doc made for him. In case you somehow don't know, Crazy Mario Bros is one of the most popular Plus tubers today, having just hit 1 million subscribers recently, which is really good for a Mario Plus channel. But unfortunately, sort of out of nowhere, just a couple days ago, a doc has been released of him by the grooming victim. So let's take a look at it without any further ado. So the victim decided not to reveal their identity, which is completely fine, but I still decided to put the Google Doc in the description for you to read. So go ahead and look at that if you want to look at the entire thing. But to summarize it, around the end of January 2021, the victim joined the Crazy Mario Bros server, and just a little around 4 days after they had joined, Crazy Mario Bros had decided to DM them. Now, if you're wondering why the hell you can't see any of Crazy Mario Bros' messages, that's because he decided to delete all of them, which in my opinion is already a terrible start because it already makes him look very guilty. But hey, pushing past that, CMB had messaged this person and asked them to be a moderator, and their conversation started from there. Now, it's important to highlight the ages of the two because it's a bit complicated. At first, the victim claimed to be 13 when they were really 10 years old, and CMB was 15, about to turn 16 the month after. Now yes, CMB was not an adult when he was talking to the victim, but you can't deny that this is a bit of a weird age gap, especially since 13 is pretty young. I mean, they just become a teenager. It's basically a sophomore about to graduate to a senior talking to an 8th grader. And it's even worse when you realize the victim was really 10. But to be completely fair, CMB didn't know that, so I'm not gonna fault him for that specifically. Anyways, jumping ahead a bit, the victim got mod, and it had been a month since the first two met. CMB started showing some weird habits. It was at this point that he started talking about his masturbation habits, which in my opinion, it's very weird to talk about that with someone who's not only younger than you, but is also 13 and your moderator and just a friend. Not just that, but the fact that you were already popular as a plush tuber at this point, you should have had some sense to not talk about these things with anyone, much less your friends or moderator. Not saying that YouTubers can't talk about this stuff, but not just to random people. He then started confiding in the victim and started talking about, you know, familial stuff and his own personal issues, which, you know, nothing too wrong with that as long as the other person consents. And plus, they don't even show screenshots of that to protect his safety, so it's completely fine. But then it starts getting really weird when they keep on sexting and CMB insists that none of this comes out, which, again, incredibly suspicious. It's like you're self-incriminating yourself, bro. You know exactly what you're doing wrong. And it gets to the point where the victim asks to stop the sexting, but then after guilt tripping and sending her a lot of love, they end up falling back into the sexting trap, which is just really manipulative. And just to remind you, this stuff had been going on for 4 months now, and now it's been 6 months, and now CMB had convinced the victim to take a photo of themselves in a bra and then started fantasizing about the image in question. And then a month later, he decided to compensate by sending a dick pic right to her, which is just gross. And this is where the manipulation really happens. The victim feels trapped because a lot was apparently going on in her life to the point where CMB was really the only person that she could talk to, and that person was basically just grooming her. Now it's been over a year since they first started sexting, and they've begun to switch to Snapchat due to the victim's father noticing, and since they didn't want to get caught, they moved over to Snapchat, which unfortunately there are no remaining screenshots of that, so the rest just goes on by word of mouth. But before I get into that, I just want to note that this is not a PFP change, this is an account change. By this point, CMB changed accounts completely, and I can actually attest to this being true because I was there when this happened. I was in the plush tuber community from 2020 to 2022 to the early 2023s, and I know this happened because, well, I was there and I was in his server at this time. Which, just to think that this could have happened to me at the time when I was like 13 to 12 is just so crazy. Now, to summarize this entire thing, basically as they started talking to Snapchat, the victim's family and her went to the Dominican Republic, and that's when she started sending breast pics to him, which, by the way, he allegedly requested them. And around this time afterwards, CMB would start threatening suicide. Then that's when the victim finally cut him off in the middle of December 2022, no longer wanting to associate with him as he would constantly threat suicide and demand breast pics. By then, she was 12. Now, I already know that there was a lot to unpack, but there's still a couple things that we need to discuss. First off, people people are questioning the validity of this and wondering if these messages are even real. Me personally, I think they are, because these span through years and all of the messages by her are still intact, meaning that what she's talking about is probably pretty accurate to what actually happened if the messages were still to be left up. And even if they weren't exactly how they lined up, he still decided to delete the messages anyway, which is incredibly incriminating. But one thing I will criticize this victim for is that when they decided to screen record the original messages to prove to everyone that these DMs were real, she did not show the actual profile picture and username in fear of her name and account being shown on the screen recording. But she could have simply just changed her profile picture and display name and showed everything. She didn't have to completely hide it, which obviously makes people and me a tiny bit suspicious. But other than that, I think everything that happened in this part and these messages are probably real. But then for the Snapchat part, we don't know what happened except for the victim, who explained it through word of mouth, and possibly CMB if he decides to respond, which he has not responded yet as of me making this video. A lot of people would take this with a grain of salt because there are no actual screenshots of these Snapchats. Personally, I think it could be real, but we will never entirely know for sure. And then there's the fact that the victim decided to lie about their age in the first place, which she did admit fault to and said that she was wrong for it. So I guess it kind of makes it okay, I guess. But at the same time, the age gap is still kind of big, and CMB is not inexcused from his actions just because she lied about her age. The things that he did were definitely still messed up. And I think that's all I pretty much have to say. Please don't subscribe to me if you want more of these kinds of videos, because I probably won't make more of these very often. I just want to make plush videos, so if you're gonna subscribe for that. But even then, I'm not trying to profit off what happened to this victim, so I just wanted to make this video to spread awareness about what happened and what happened with CrazyMarioBros. But again, he hasn't responded yet, so maybe he'll come out and just freaking deny everything, or he'll debunk everything that this victim has said. Who knows? But looking at this right now, it's a little bit tough to do that when she has kind of good evidence. But then again, some of it might be just easily disproven. And so far he has not responded or done anything about it, so we'll have to see. I might make a follow-up video once that happens, but we'll see. Anyways, thanks for watching, and bye.